I've been driving Uber for a few years now, mostly evenings and late nights. I don't do it because I enjoy it. I do it because it pays the bills and it fits around my other work. After a while, you start to think you've seen every type of passenger there is. This happened on a Thursday night. Nothing special about it. I remember that clearly because Thursdays are usually quiet. Fewer drunk riders, fewer problems. Around 10:40 p.m., I got a request from an apartment complex about 2 miles away. The name on the app was Daniel. The pickup pin was placed near the main entrance. I accepted and drove over. When I pulled up, a man was already standing there, phone in hand. He looked like he was waiting for someone. Late 20s maybe, average build, dark jacket, jeans, nothing that stood out. As he opened the back door, I did what I always do. "Daniel?" He looked up from his phone, made eye contact, and said, "Yeah." That was enough for me. He got in, shut the door, and buckled his seatbelt. I glanced at the destination. Residential area about 15 minutes away, no red flags. We pulled out of the complex and headed toward the main road. He didn't speak. That wasn't unusual. A lot of people just want to sit quietly and scroll. A few minutes into the drive, my phone vibrated. I assumed it was a notification about traffic or a speed camera. When I glanced down at the screen at a red light, I saw it was a message from the rider. "Where are you?" I read it twice. The app still showed the ride in progress. The passenger was sitting directly behind me. I checked the name again. Daniel. Same profile. Same destination. I replied, "On the way, about 10 minutes out." Almost immediately, another message came in. "I'm still waiting. You're not here." I felt confused more than anything else. I glanced at the rear-view mirror. The man was looking out the window, calm, relaxed, like nothing unusual was happening. I said, "Hey, just to confirm, you're Daniel, right?" He nodded. "Yep." I slowed slightly, keeping my eyes on the road. "I'm getting messages saying the rider is still waiting." He smiled, but not in a friendly way, more like he found something mildly entertaining. "That's weird." I didn't respond right away. I checked the pickup pin history. It hadn't moved. According to the app, I had already picked up the rider. Then another message appeared. "That's not me. I didn't get in your car." At that point, I pulled over to a well-lit side street. I didn't want to keep driving while trying to figure this out. I turned around in my seat slightly. "Okay, we need to clear this up. The app says you're the rider, but I'm getting messages saying otherwise." He leaned back against the seat and shrugged. "Yeah, I know." The way he said it caught my attention. Calm, casual, like this wasn't a problem to him. "So what do you mean you know?" I asked. He looked at me through the mirror. "I'm not Daniel." I paused for a moment. "Then why did you say yes when I asked your name?" "Because you asked if I was Daniel, not if I was the Daniel who ordered the ride." I stared at him. "So you got in someone else's Uber on purpose?" He nodded. "Pretty much." I unlocked my phone and ended the ride immediately. "All right, you need to get out of the car." He didn't move. "Hey," I said more firmly, "the ride is over." He looked around slowly, as if taking in the street, the houses, the parked cars. I told him, "You need to exit the vehicle now." Instead of opening the door, he asked, "Do you always stop like this when something unexpected happens?" I didn't answer. He continued, "You checked your mirrors 3 times since we pulled over. You also keep tapping your thumb against the steering wheel. You do that when you're thinking." That is when I felt truly uncomfortable. Not scared in a dramatic way, just aware that the situation was no longer normal. "I'm asking you one last time, please leave the car." He tilted his head slightly. "You're going to report me, right?" "Yes." "That's fine. I won't be using this account anyway." I didn't like that answer either. He finally opened the door, but didn't get out right away. One foot stayed inside. "Can I ask you something before I go?" "No." He smiled. "Do you always drive alone this late?" I didn't respond. He stepped out slowly, then leaned back in just enough to say, "You should be more careful who you confirm." Then he closed the door. I locked the car immediately and drove off without looking back. When I stopped a few blocks away, my hands were steady, but my thoughts weren't. I reported the incident through the app. Uber support replied with a generic message about safety and said they'd investigate the account. I used to drive Uber at night because it paid better and there was less traffic. That was the logic. I didn't think of it as risky, just quieter. Fewer conversations, fewer distractions. You pick people up, you drop them off, you move on. This happened on a Friday, just after midnight. The request came from a bar area downtown. The name on the app was Marcus, 5-star rating. Account looked old enough to feel legitimate. The destination was about 18 minutes away, a residential address on the edge of the city. I accepted. When I pulled up, he was already outside, pacing near the curb. He got in quickly and shut the door with more force than necessary. He didn't greet me. He just sat there, leaning forward slightly, elbows on his knees. I did my usual confirmation. "Marcus?" "Yeah," he said, without looking at me. I checked the route and pulled away. We hadn't even gone a block when he said, "Hey, I need to add a stop." I told him, "You'll need to add that in the app." He sighed loudly. "Just pull over at the gas station up ahead. I'll make it quick." I said, "I can't do stops unless they're added before the ride starts." That annoyed him. I could tell by the way he shifted in his seat. "That's not how other drivers do it." "I'm just following the rules," I said. There was a pause. Then he said, "I'll tip you." "I'm sorry," I replied. "It still has to be added in the app." Another pause, longer this time. "Fine," he said, "I'll add it." A few seconds later, the app updated. One stop added. Convenience store. I continued driving. At the stop, he got out without saying anything. He went inside and came back out in less than a minute, holding a small paper bag. He didn't open it, he just tucked it under his jacket and got back in. We drove for another few minutes. Then he said, "I need to add another stop." I glanced at the app. "You'll have to add it." He didn't answer right away. I could feel him watching me through the mirror. "You know, I already told you I'll tip." "I'm not worried about the tip," I replied. "It has to be added in the app." He laughed once, short and dry. "You're really strict about that." I didn't respond. He added another stop, this time a residential street. No business name, just a pin on a quiet block. When we arrived, he didn't get out right away. He sat there, looking out the window, then said, "Pull up a little more." I did. He got out, walked halfway down the block, stopped near a parked car, bent down briefly, then came back. His hands were empty this time, but he adjusted his jacket again before getting in. I didn't ask questions, I just drove. A few minutes passed. "Add one more stop," he said. I exhaled slowly. "You need to add it." He didn't touch his phone. Instead, he leaned forward, not aggressively, just enough to shorten the distance between us. "You know, you're making this harder than it needs to be." I kept my eyes on the road. "I'm following the process." He tapped something against the back of my seat, lightly, once, then again. "I've had a long night. I don't have patience for stubborn drivers." I said, "If you don't add the stop, I'll end the ride at the original destination." He was quiet for a few seconds. Then he said, "I wouldn't do that." I glanced in the mirror. His right hand was inside his pocket. I couldn't see what he was holding, if anything, but the way his wrist stayed still didn't feel casual. "What's the next stop?" I asked. He smiled slightly. "That's better." The app updated. Another stop. This one was a closed warehouse district. No lights, no open businesses, just a pin on a dead-end road. I didn't say anything. I drove. When we arrived, he told me to turn off the main road and head toward the back lot. I slowed, but kept the car in drive. "I'll wait here," I said. He looked at me. "Pull in." "I'll wait here," I repeated. His hand stayed in his pocket. "You're making a big deal out of nothing." "I'm not pulling into a dark lot," I said. He stared at me for a few seconds. Then he opened the door and got out. He walked behind a dumpster, out of sight. I watched the mirrors. My foot stayed on the brake. After about 30 seconds, he came back carrying a small black backpack. He got in and placed it at his feet. "Last stop, then you're done." I nodded. As we drove, he leaned back and relaxed for the first time. "You drive nights often?" "Sometimes." "You ever think about who you're driving?" I didn't answer. He continued, "You ever wonder what's in people's bags?" I kept driving. He chuckled. "I like that you don't talk much." Another few minutes passed. "Pull over up here," he said. "That's not the destination." "I know, just stop." I slowed near a row of townhouses, lights off, no one outside. He got out, opened the back door, and reached for the backpack. Then he paused. "You did the right thing. Most drivers don't." I asked, "What is that supposed to mean?" He shrugged. "You followed instructions." Then he closed the door and walked toward one of the houses. He didn't knock. He went around the side. I didn't wait to see what happened next. I ended the ride and drove away. About 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A message from Uber asking if everything went okay with the trip. I pulled over and typed out everything while it was fresh. The stops, the pocket, the comments, the locations. Uber responded with a generic safety message and said they were escalating the report. I wasn't satisfied with that. The next morning, I went to the police station. I didn't expect much. I told them what happened anyway. The officer listened, asked questions, wrote notes. He asked if I saw a weapon. I said no. He asked if there was a direct threat. I said no. He nodded and said, "You did the right thing by coming in." That was it. Uber deactivated the rider's account later that day. They told me they couldn't share details. I logged into the app that night for habit, stared at the screen, then logged back out. I stopped driving after dark. Not because of fear exactly, because I realized how easily a normal ride can turn into something else. How rules don't mean much when you're alone in a car with someone who knows how to push without crossing lines. I still drive during the day sometimes, but every time someone adds a stop after getting in, I remember that night. And I don't argue anymore. I just end the ride. I don't usually take rides with kids, not because I don't like children, but because they complicate things. Uber has rules about minors, and those rules exist for a reason. If something goes wrong, the driver is the one left explaining it. This happened on a Saturday afternoon, not even late, around 3 p.m., broad daylight, busy streets. That's part of what made it stick with me. The request came from a supermarket parking lot. The name on the app was Thomas. The destination was a housing estate about 12 minutes away. Nothing about the request stood out. I accepted. When I pulled into the parking lot, I saw a man standing near the trolley bay with a young boy beside him. The kid looked about 7 or 8, small backpack, school shoes. The man waved me down quickly. They both got in the back seat. Before I even put the car in drive, I turned slightly and said, "Just to confirm, Thomas?" "Yeah," the man said. I glanced at the child in the mirror. He was sitting very still, hands in his lap, eyes fixed on the floor. I said, "Where are you both heading?" The man replied, "Just drop him off at the address." I paused. I can't take a child alone. An adult has to be present for the whole ride. The man sighed and leaned back. "I know, I'm coming too." That answer didn't match what he'd just said, but I didn't push it yet. I started driving. We hadn't gone far when the man said, "Actually, you can just drop him. I'll walk back." I shook my head. I can't do that. Company rules. A minor can't be alone in the car. He made a face, like I was being difficult on purpose. "I'm his uncle. It's fine." "I'm sorry," I said. "It's not my decision. I need an adult with him the whole time." The child shifted in his seat. He didn't look at the man. He didn't look at me either. The man said, "I allow you to take him." I said, "It doesn't work like that." He exhaled sharply through his nose. "Every driver says that, but then they do it anyway." "I won't," I replied. He stared at me through the mirror. "You're serious?" "Yes." There was a long pause. Then he said, "Fine, I'll stay." We drove on. The child hadn't spoken once, not a word. No questions, no complaints, just quiet. I tried to keep things normal. "You doing okay back there?" I asked, directing it toward the child. The boy nodded slightly, but didn't speak. The man said, "He's tired." That didn't explain the way the kid was sitting, rigid, alert, like he was waiting for something. A few minutes later, the man added a stop in the app, gas station. I glanced at the screen. "Okay," I said, "we'll stop there." He nodded. "Just need to grab something." When we pulled into the station, he opened the door quickly. "I'll be right back." He didn't tell the child anything. No instructions, no reassurance. He just got out and walked toward the shop. I watched him go inside through the front window. The child stayed seated. A minute passed. Then 2. I checked the mirror again. The boy was looking straight ahead now, eyes wide, breathing shallow. He clutched the strap of his backpack tightly. I said gently, "Hey, your uncle will be right back." He didn't respond. Another minute passed. I looked toward the shop. I could see people moving around inside. I couldn't see the man. I started to feel uneasy, not panic, just a sense that something was off. I opened my door and called out, "Sir." No response. I honked lightly, once. Nothing. I got out of the car and walked toward the shop entrance. I scanned the aisles from outside. I didn't see him. I went back to the car and asked the child, "Do you know where he went?" The boy shook his head. His eyes filled, but he didn't cry. "How do you know him?" I asked. "He said not to talk," he whispered. My stomach turned, but I kept my voice steady. "Do you know his name?" He shook his head again. I looked back toward the shop and then around the parking lot. No sign of the man. I went back inside the shop this time. I walked every aisle, front to back. He wasn't there. I stepped outside and scanned the lot again. Then I noticed something that made everything click. The far exit of the gas station parking lot led onto a side street. No cameras visible from where I stood. I realized then that he hadn't forgotten the child. He had left him. I rushed back to the car. The child was starting to cry quietly now, not loudly, just tears rolling down his face. "It's okay," I said. "You're safe. I'm here." I locked the doors and called the police. While we waited, I contacted Uber support and explained the situation. They told me to remain where I was and cooperate with authorities. The police arrived within minutes, 2 officers, calm, professional. They spoke to the child first, then to me. I told them everything from the beginning: the refusal, the argument, the stop, the pretending to comply. The stop added in the app to make it seem normal. He had planned to leave the child with a stranger. And if I hadn't insisted on the rules, if I'd agreed at the start, no one would have known where that boy ended up. I don't drive children anymore, not even with adults. Some rules exist because someone learned the hard way. And that day, it almost wasn't me.